Shana Tova, Happy New Year. I wish it was a happier New Year, and I wish we were in the tent together, shoulder to shoulder, 500 or so of us, but that's not in the cards this year, so we're going to make the best of what we've got, and we're going to try to create something unique and special given the circumstances. We're going to begin with the Shema. The Shema, of course, is the Jewish declaration of what we believe. Adonai is our God, and there's one Adonai. But I want to concentrate for a second on the first word, Shema. Shema means to listen. And it's not only, listen, Jewish people, Adonai is our God, and Adonai is one. It's also a reminder to each of us. We all talk a lot. Maybe we talk too much. Shema means, you know what, this year, let's try to listen to each other. Let's try to listen to even to words that people are feeling but aren't feeling good enough to say. So we begin, Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavecha v'chol nafshecha v'chol meodecha v'hayu advarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom alevavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam b'shivtecha b'veitecha v'lechtecha v'derech ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם להיות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. I want to tell you a story. It's about King Solomon. It's one of my favorites, and I think it fits in to what we've all been going through these last 5 or 6 months. It seems that Solomon was asked a question. After all, he was the wisest man in the whole world. And somebody came to him and they said, I want to make a ring, and I want the ring to have an inscription. And I want the inscription to be a piece of wisdom that's going to apply in every possible circumstance. So Solomon scratches his head and says, okay, I'll get back to you on that. And he thinks about this and he says, how about this? Don't worry, be happy. Well, he says, nice song, but I'm not sure that's the wisdom for the ages. Or how about this? An apple a day keeps the doctor away. Well, nice, but I'm not sure. How about this? The early bird catches the worm. No, that's not it. So Solomon goes to sleep, and in the middle of the night he wakes up and he says, I've got it. He says, this is the inscription for the ring that is going to be a piece of wisdom that you can use in every single possible circumstance. You want to know what to do? Look at the ring. And the ring is going to tell you everything that you need to know. So people said, okay, what is it? What is this universal piece of wisdom? And Solomon says, first in Hebrew, of course, Gam ze ya'avor. And in English, this too shall pass. People say, what does that mean? This too, T-O-O, this also shall pass? What do you mean by that? And he says, look, if there are bad things happening, maybe there's a pandemic, maybe people lost their jobs, maybe there are terrible things going on in society, and people are marching and protesting and fighting. What do? You look at the ring and you are reminded, this too shall pass. It's bad, but it's not going to be forever. And if you're patient and you wait it out, good times are going to come again. But if you're going through a wonderful time, If everything is great, if there are no problems, look at the ring. Gam ze ya'avor. This too shall pass. Meaning, don't think that this is the way it's always going to be. You need to put aside something for a rainy day. You need to prepare in case there are bad things that are ahead. You don't want to be surprised. So if it's bad, don't think it's going to last forever. If it's wonderful, don't think it's going to last forever. Remember, what you really need to do is look at the ring and to embrace whatever good you have in your life and enjoy it at that very moment. That's the wisdom from King Solomon. So we continue with the Amidah. The Amidah means the standing prayer. We stand because we are asking God, we're coming before God, and out of respect, we stand before God. And the Amidah begins like this. Our feet are together, and we bend and bow when we say the two first, Baruch Atah. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Ve'Elohei Avoteinu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak Ve'Elohei Yaakov El Agadol Agibor Va'anora El Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim Ve'Konei Hakol Ve'Zocher Chazdei Avot U'Mevi Goel Livnei V'neihem Leman Shemo B'Yahava. And on Rosh Hashanah, we add the following. Zochreinu lechayim, melech hafetz b'chayim, melech hafetz b'chayim. Zochreinu lechayim, melech hafetz b'chayim, melech hafetz b'chayim. V'kodvenu b'sefer hachayim, lemancha Elohim chayim. Write us, God, into the book of life for the coming year. Melech Ozer u'Moshia u'Magen, Baruch Atah Adonai Magen Avraham. That blessing is very interesting, that we praise God, who is the shield of Abraham. Why a shield? First of all, a shield, somebody's throwing something at you. You put up the shield. It's not going to stop them from attacking you, but it can stop them from harming you. And so God can't prevent everything that will attack us. What God can do is be a shield to us in times of difficulty, to making sure that we're strong and that we're protected from whatever is surrounding us. There's a great story that Abraham told the king Nimrod of his time. I do not believe in idols. There is only one God, and he's in heaven above. And they said, we cannot allow people to say such things. They built a fiery furnace, and they threw Abraham into it, locked the door. They said, we only need to wait a few minutes. There'll be nothing left of Abraham. Well, after 20 minutes, they opened the door, and out walks Abraham. They couldn't believe it. It's as though God were the heat shield that was protecting Abraham from the fire. And we believe that God is there to protect us whenever we are in trouble. Atagi bor le'olam Adonai, mechaye metim, atarav lehoshia, mechakel chayim bechesed, mechaye metim berachamim rabim, somech noflim verofei cholim, umatir asurim, umekayem emunato lisheine afar. Michamocha bal gevurot umido melach, melech memit umechaye umatzmiach Yeshua. Then we add, Michamocha avarachamim, zocher yitzurav, lechayim berachamim berachamim. God remembers us, remembers to be merciful for us, upon us, and to take care of us. V'ne'eman ata lachayot meitim, Baruch ata Adonai mechayei hametim. Everybody knows that one of the major customs on Rosh Hashanah is to eat apples and honey. So why do we do that? And everybody says, well, honey, of course, that's sweet. And it's a way of saying, may you have a year as sweet as this honey is. But I have a feeling that there's other reasons as well. First of all, apples at September time. This is the right season. You know, you can pass now the Cedar Mill on 106, and that's when people are harvesting apples and making apple cider. So it could be the right season. And maybe having apples in the right season is a reminder to us that now is the right season for getting our lives together, for planning for the coming year, for the school year, for whatever year that we are looking forward to. So right season, that's number one. Number two, some people say, remember the apple, that was part of the story of Adam and Eve. People were told, you're in a paradise, don't mess it up. You can have everything you want except for the fruit of that tree. And of course, that's the exact tree that Adam and Eve went for and ate. So it's a reminder to us that the world we were given can be a paradise. But you know what? If we mess it up, it's on us. Just like the apple is a reminder of how we took the Garden of Eden and we turned it into a place that wasn't a place that you'd want to be. Finally, apples and honey. We're reminded, just like that wonderful Israeli song tells us, al hadvash v'al ha'oketz, that in life there's going to be honey and there's going to be the sting of a bee. Sometimes if you want to get that honey, you're going to have to risk getting stung. That's the price you pay for sweetness in life. You don't get all honey, but also be assured you don't get just the stings. One comes with the other. That's the price we pay for love, for happiness, for goodness. That there are sometimes in life going to be the sting. So on Rosh Hashanah, when we dip the apple into the honey, we're reminded that there is sweetness in life, but there's also going to be the sting and the bitterness of life. And we should be prepared for it and enjoy the honey when we can, but be prepared for life's stings when we need to be. We continue with the prayer for peace, Sim Shalom. Sim Shalom, Tova Uvracha, Chen V'Chesed V'Rachamim V'Rachamim Aleinu V'Al Kol Yisrael V'Al Kol Yisrael Amecha Barcheinu Avinu Kulanu Ke'echad Bior Panecha Ki bior panecha natata lanu Adonai Eloheinu Sim shalom tova uvracha Chen v'chesed v'rachamim v'rachamim Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'al kol Yisrael Amecha Torat Chaim v'Avad Chesed v'Avad Chesed Utzedaka uvracha v'rachamim v'chaim v'shalom Sim shalom tova uvracha Chen v'chesed v'rachamim v'rachamim Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'al kol Yisrael Yisrael amecha, v'tov b'einecha levarech et amecha Yisrael b'chol eit u'v'chol shah b'shlomecha. And then we add on Rosh Hashanah, B'Sefer Chaim, in the book of life, bracha, blessing, shalom, peace, parnasah, sustenance, tova, goodness, nizacher v'nikatev, may we be remembered, may we be written in, Lefanecha, anachnu v'chol amcha beit Yisrael, us, all the people of Israel, l'chaim, for life, tovim, good life, u'l'shalom, and for peace. And the bracha ends, Baruch Ata Adonai Oseh HaShalom. One of my favorite stories is about a hero who was 11 years old. 11 years old. Kids often ask, I'm a kid, what can I do? I can't change the world. I want to tell you about a kid who did change the world. His name was Trevor Farrell, lived in Philadelphia. It was 1983. It was just before Christmas, in the cold of December. He was watching TV, and in Philadelphia on the news, they did a story about homeless people who were living in boxes under the bridge in terrible conditions. And Trevor watched this, and he turned to his dad, and he said, Dad, is that really true? Father said, yes, I'm afraid it is. Trevor said, could you take me to where they are? I need to see that for myself. The dad said, well, what do you want to go out? It's at night, it's cold. But he thought, you know what? If my son is sensitive enough to watch the news and want to know and want to see, then I'm going to take him. So they get in the car and they drive down to a really bad neighborhood. And the dad slows down and he says, you see, by the sidewalk, those people, they're living, some in tents. Those are the lucky ones. The not lucky ones, they've got cardboard boxes. And just as the dad is saying this, Trevor opens the door and runs out of the car. And the father, oh my God, Trevor, get back! And the kid, what the father didn't see is that Trevor had brought with him his own blanket from his bed. And he ran up to one of the people who was on the sidewalk, and he handed him his blanket. And the homeless person was very happy, was sort of stunned. A kid is giving me a blanket? What's this all about? And at that, he reached out his hand, and Trevor shook it. The man's hand was filthy and dirty, but Trevor smiled, and his father said, Trevor, come back. And he got back into the car. And on the one hand, the dad was upset that Trevor was, risking his life with people who knew who they were, what they were. And on the other hand, he was very proud of his son for doing this. And he said, Trevor, you can't really do that. He said, Dad, we have to help these people. Can we come back tomorrow night? And the dad said, we don't have that many blankets in the house. What can we do? And Trevor said, could we make sandwiches for them? So the father said, okay, we'll do that. So the next day, they went out, they bought a loaf of bread, and they bought some bologna, and they made sandwiches. And then they came back the next night, the sandwiches were all wrapped, and Trevor and his father together went out, and they handed out sandwiches. And the father figured, okay, my son has done a beautiful deed, we're done. And then the next day, Trevor says to his dad, okay, we got to go buy more bread and more bologna. And the dad said, we did it once. He said, but people got to eat more than once. So the son taught the father. They went out, they got more bread, more bologna, more sandwiches. This went on day after day. This became their family thing, to make the sandwiches, to hand them out to the homeless people. Eventually, a news crew was down there and they saw this and they filmed Trevor and his dad handing out sandwiches. So that now was on the news. Everybody in Philadelphia knew about this 11-year-old kid who comes every night and is handing out sandwiches. After another week, Trevor said, you know, maybe they're a little tired of bologna sandwiches. Could we stop at Wendy's and pick up something else for them? And the dad said, sure. And Trevor said, you know, it's cold out there. Maybe some of that chili that they sell. So Trevor and his dad walk in to Wendy's and says, we'd like about 20 portions of chili to be able to give to hungry people. And behind the counter, they said, aren't you that kid who goes to the homeless? And the father said, yes, that's us. And he said, one moment. And they bring the manager back. And the manager says, you know what? It's on us. You don't have to pay for this. So this became the thing. I got to tell you that from a blanket to sandwiches to hot meal, eventually the whole city knew about Trevor. And Trevor eventually was able, with his parents' help and others in the city who knew he was doing a wonderful mitzvah, they opened up a shelter called Trevor's Place in Philadelphia, where the homeless didn't need to sleep in the cold on the street. There was now a warm, safe shelter for them where they could sleep, where they could eat, they could take a shower. This became an incredible thing. So if you're ever thinking, I'm just a kid, what can I do? I want you to remember the true story about Trevor Farrell in 1983 and about Trevor's Place, which still exists in Philadelphia. Here's what I'd like you to do. Speaking of parents and kids, I'd like parents now to take their hands, place them on the head of your children, and I want you to give them this blessing. We say this every time we conclude the Amidah. Yevarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. May God bless you and may God protect you. Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'chuneka. May God smile upon you and may God be gracious to you. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. May God lift up his face to you and may he give you peace. Parents, I want you to kiss your children on the forehead, and may this blessing all come true. I want to tell you the story. First of all, there's a kid, gets his report card, and he sees he's got C minuses. Parents aren't going to be happy with this. The kid's not happy with this. The kid goes to the teacher and says, how could you give me a C minus? I know I'm a much better student than that. And the parent says, come here, I want to show you something. The teacher opens up the marking book that she has, and indeed, she said, I want you to look at the marks that you got. 70, 65, 73, 72, 69. These were your test scores. These were your quizzes, right? It's written in the book. This is what you got. And the kid said, I don't remember all that. Teacher pulls out a folder, and in the folder, you've got the kid with his 70, his 65, his 73. It's all recorded in the book. There's not much that the kid can do or say about it, except, okay, I acknowledge that I didn't do so well. Maybe I was just a C minus student. But I promise to you that I'm going to do better. I need extra help. I'm going to try my hardest, and I want to become at least a B student. By the end of the year, I'm hoping maybe I could get an A out of this. Well, this is exactly what happens to all of us. We show up on Rosh Hashanah, And God says, you got a C minus for the year. C minus? What are you talking about? And God opens up his book and he shows us, look, here's the things that you messed up. Here's the mistakes that you made. You did a couple of good things, but you did a lot of bad stuff. And the marks are all here. And you know what? It's all written in your own handwriting. My book shows the things that you've done. And the person looks at the books and says, okay, I admit it. I acknowledge it. I'm hoping, God, I'm going to turn myself around. In this coming year, I'm going to do better. I'm going to not do some of those bad things. I'm going to try to do more of the good things. And God says, I'm behind you. I'm with you. I'm going to support you. And hopefully, right, by the end of this week, if you put your mind to it, God says to us, I'm going to give you another chance. And you're going to take a retest, and maybe you're going to do better. So that's a reminder to us of what it's really all about. I want to continue with the final prayers of the service. Ein Keloheinu. Sing along if you know it. Ein Keloheinu, Ein Kadonenu, Ein Kemalkeinu, Ein Kamoshienu, Micheloheinu, Michadonenu, Michemalkeinu, Michemoshienu, Nodel Eloheinu, Nodel Adonenu, Nodel Malkeinu, Nodel Moshienu, Baruch Eloheinu, Baruch Adonenu, Baruch Malkeinu, Baruch Eloheinu Atahu, Eloheinu Atahu, Adonenu Atahu, Malkeinu Atahu, Moshienu. Aleinu, we generally rise. Aleinu l'shabeach ladon hakol, lateit gedula liyotzer breshit, shelo asanu kegoye aratzot, v'lo samanu kemishpechot adama, shelo sam chelkenu kahem, v'gor aleinu kechol amonam, v'anachnu korim, ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. And then the end of Aleinu goes like this. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא. ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד. Ushemo, Ushemo, Ushemo Echad, Ushemo Echad. And finally, Adon Olam Asher Malach, B'terem Kol Yitzir Nivra, Liet Nasa Bechefza Kol, Azai Melech Shemo Nikra, V'yacharei Kechlot HaKol, Levado Yimloch Nora, V'hu Haya, V'hu Hoveh, V'hu Yiyeh B'tifara, V'hu Echad, V'ein Sheni, Lehamshilo, Lehachbira, Bali Reshit, Bali Tachlit, Velo Haoz, Vehamisra, Vehu Eli, Vechai Goali, V'tzur Chevli, B'yetzara, Vehu Nisi, Umanosli, Menat Kosi, B'yom Ekra, B'yado, Afkid Ruchi, B'yeti Shan V'ya'ira, V'imruchi Geviati, Adonai li velo ira. Lishana tova tekatevu v'techatenu. May we all be written into the book of life and sealed in the book of life for a happy and a good and a sweet year. Shalom.